I mean, I was a guy in the back of the class. I was a guy with the head down. I was a guy, soaking wet, sweating. I was a guy shaking underneath, if not physically shaking, desperate not to be called on in the class.
Gavin Newsom shares candidly about his struggles with dyslexia during his childhood, describing himself as a student who was anxious and desperate to avoid attention in class. Despite these challenges, he emphasizes how his mother's relentless support and refusal to let him use dyslexia as an excuse shaped his resilience and work ethic. He explains that he still struggles with reading and has developed unique strategies like underlining and rereading to comprehend text. This personal history of overcoming learning difficulties has influenced his entrepreneurial mindset and political career, highlighting the importance of grit and perseverance. Newsom's story challenges common perceptions about learning disabilities and success, illustrating that early academic struggles do not preclude significant achievements later in life.
I just got elected mayor and made the decision then, and it unfolded a few weeks later, to start marrying same-sex couples. And we married Phyllis Lyon and Del Martin. They'd been together almost 50 years.
One of Newsom's defining moments as mayor was his decision to authorize same-sex marriages in San Francisco in 2004, well before it was widely accepted or legally recognized. This act was both symbolic and practical, challenging existing laws and sparking a national conversation on marriage equality. Despite backlash from his own party and political allies, Newsom stood firm, driven by a sense of justice and equality. The marriages he officiated were not just ceremonies, but a statement of inclusion and civil rights. This episode highlights Newsom's willingness to take political risks for causes he believes in, setting a precedent that contributed to the eventual nationwide legalization of same-sex marriage.
I think there was a magazine, The Economist, did a headline, said, "Young man in a hurry. He wants to be governor, seriously." And it wasn't question mark. It was more, there we are. It was more like he's serious.
Newsom reflects on the intense pressures and imperfections behind his public persona. He acknowledges youthful mistakes, including personal and marital challenges, and the struggle to mature emotionally while in the public eye. Despite these setbacks, he credits friends and mentors for helping him regain focus and grow into his leadership role. This candid admission humanizes a high-profile politician, emphasizing that leadership involves continuous learning and self-improvement. Newsom's journey underscores the complexity of balancing personal vulnerabilities with public responsibilities and the importance of accountability and resilience in political life.
And so this is code red in this country, around the world increasingly. And if it was happening to any minority group, particularly in my party, the Democratic Party, we'd be all over it. Instead, we've been timid about it because men have this sort of hierarchical benefits in society.
Newsom discusses a growing crisis affecting young men, including rising suicide rates, educational challenges, and social isolation. He criticizes the Democratic Party for failing to adequately address these issues, partly due to discomfort around gender dynamics and ongoing struggles with gender equality. He notes that this neglect has created a political opening that has been exploited by the Republican Party and figures like Donald Trump, who have successfully connected with young men seeking purpose and belonging. Newsom advocates for a comprehensive, bipartisan approach to support young men through education, mental health initiatives, and community engagement, warning that ignoring this demographic threatens both social cohesion and political stability.
Yeah, I just, it's like I'm out of any excuse. Look, you are who you are, and let it all out there. And I think people, I think we claim we long for authenticity.
Newsom emphasizes the importance of authenticity in politics, contrasting it with sanitized, PR-driven messaging. He praises platforms like podcasting for enabling unfiltered, long-form conversations that bridge ideological divides. By inviting guests from across the political spectrum, including those he disagrees with, Newsom seeks to foster understanding and reduce polarization. He acknowledges the public's desire to see genuine personalities rather than polished facades, noting that even controversial figures like Donald Trump benefit from perceived authenticity. This approach reflects a broader shift in political communication toward transparency and direct engagement with voters.
I think we're struggling. Our identity. I think we're, Trump has made us feel free to shove again. It's not our better selves.
Newsom expresses deep concern about the state of American democracy, highlighting how Donald Trump's presidency has eroded norms, institutions, and the rule of law. He describes a political environment marked by division, misinformation, and attacks on democratic checks and balances. Newsom warns that Trump's actions, including attempts to influence elections and federalize the National Guard, represent a dangerous escalation threatening the country's democratic foundations. Despite this, Newsom believes Trump is unlikely to remain in power beyond 2028, but stresses the need for vigilance and reform to protect democracy from authoritarian tendencies.
So let's talk about that. It is the worst part of my party. I can't stand it. I do not begrudge other people's success. I'm inspired by it. I admire it.
Newsom critiques the Democratic Party's often adversarial stance towards successful entrepreneurs, which he sees as a major strategic and cultural weakness. He argues that entrepreneurship and innovation are central to the American and Californian dreams, and that the party should celebrate and support business leaders rather than begrudge their success. Newsom highlights California's economic dominance, especially in technology and AI, and stresses the importance of creating an inclusive environment where entrepreneurial success is encouraged. He also acknowledges the complex relationship with figures like Elon Musk, praising their contributions while noting changes in character and approach over time.
Shelter solves sleep. Housing and supportive services solve homelessness. You've got to deal with the underlying reasons people are out in the streets and sidewalks in the first place.
Newsom outlines California's multifaceted approach to tackling homelessness, emphasizing that providing shelter alone is insufficient. He stresses the need for comprehensive solutions addressing mental health, substance abuse, and economic factors. The state has implemented significant reforms, including expanding behavioral health housing, workforce development, and integrated care systems. Newsom acknowledges the complexity of homelessness and the importance of performance and accountability in delivering services. He highlights recent progress in reducing unsheltered homelessness and crime, while calling for continued efforts to create sustainable pathways out of homelessness.
Well, they lied. They lied to you then, or they're lying to you now, period. Someone lied about this. They dangled this in order to get votes. And they lied to people. They used people.
Newsom addresses the controversy surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein files, expressing skepticism about the promises made to release them. He suggests that political figures, including Donald Trump and his allies, manipulated the issue for electoral gain and then failed to follow through. Newsom points out the close relationship between Epstein and Trump as an undeniable fact, which fuels public outrage and conspiracy theories. He calls for accountability and transparency, criticizing the use of such sensitive matters as political tools. This discussion reflects broader concerns about trust, misinformation, and the exploitation of public sentiment in American politics.